Emily Goligoski with Women 2.0's In Conversation series, here with Alexa Andrzeweski of Foodspotting.com. Welcome, it's so good to have you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be on this.
And so tell us, August 3rd, right about your 1 year mark.
Yeah, so this is the 1 year anniversary of Foodspotting's public debut at iPhone Dev Camp. Although the idea had been rolling around a lot longer than that and really being incubated through Women 2.0, which is why I'm really excited to be part of this series.
So tell us a little bit, I mean, you had been a user experience designer with Adaptive Path. Was entrepreneurship something you had in mind, or what sort of got this ball rolling?
Yeah, I'm definitely not one of those people that thought, like, I am an entrepreneur and someday I'm going to go up and start my own company. Like, that wasn't something I'd kind of grown up and thought, or like even thought while I was at Adaptive Path. I just literally woke up with this idea one day, and the first idea was actually to publish a book about food. I had just traveled to Osaka, Japan, and discovered all these interesting Osaka foods that I'd never heard of before. And I wanted to create a book that helped people learn about new foods around the world, because growing up in the Midwest, you know, there were so many foods I just never even knew existed. And I'd seen lots of people at Adaptive Path write books, and so I thought, I could totally, pitch a book and do that. So I started that. And while I was doing it, I was thinking, this would be so much more useful as an iPhone app. And at the same time, I just kept having one conversation after another that opened my eyes to the fact that people like me were actually starting web and internet startups. I met Sana Chudari she's part of Women 2.0 as well, and she told me she'd met some people at Startup Weekend and they'd actually been working on her idea and making it real. And that got me really excited, and that day I went home and I bought the name Foodspotting, the domain name Foodspotting, and looked into the Jumpstart Your Startup and Startup Weekend that were coming up right then.
And what was that process like as you started to think, okay, it's not a book, maybe it is more of a mobile application. Did you quit your job right away, or what was that process?
Yeah, no, I definitely didn't quit right away, because it was still kind of could I really, well, first of all, I'm a user experience designer, so I can't actually build things myself. So there wasn't anything for me to quit and go do at the moment. So in all of my spare time, I was working on every part of the process that I knew from Adaptive Path, coming up with the vision, sketching out ideas, testing those ideas with people. I made mock-ups of the entire app and prototyped it and everything, but I couldn't actually build it. And so it actually took me a good 6 long months to get out there and try to meet developers. And one thing I realized at that time is the circles in the design world can be pretty segmented. All the people I knew were user experience designers, and there's this bubble of developers who don't know any user experience designers. So it took a little bit of time to find somebody. But the good part was that once I did, we were able to really hit the ground running, because I was able to do all this thinking beforehand on the side from Adaptive Path.
Absolutely. And so after Jumpstart Your Startup, how did you know that Ted, your now business partner, was the right person to start this company with?
Yeah, it was really it was one of those things that was just an amazing connection. I met Ted when I was actually first incubating this idea in my head. And I knew what I thought I was on the lookout for was just an iPhone developer. And Ted was a Rails developer for Get Satisfaction at the time. And so I met him and I was bouncing ideas off, and he was like, you should totally go do it. And he just had this confidence that I could just go find somebody and do this. And so I started meeting with him for dinner a couple of times after that, just to bounce ideas off of him and to get ideas for what I should be looking for in a developer. And the more I talked to him, the more I realized, Ted would be the perfect developer for Foodspotting. He had started his own food app, and he just had that confidence that this was something that we could actually do and raise money and make real. And I finally asked him out to be my developer one day right before he left on this big long vacation, and he started building Foodspotting from a tent on his vacation, camping across the
Dedication.
country. So Foodspotting the product was born in a tent.
I love this. Now, what has the sort of community interaction been like? What sort of foods have you seen, I guess, uploaded by users that you never might have expected?
Yeah, that's a good question. People have been spotting things all over the world, which has been great. I've learned, I think what I like best are interesting variations of food. So things that are deep fried you'd never expect, like deep fried chicken hearts or something, or just interesting combinations, Skittles ice cream, or things you wouldn't think of. And I think things like that are funny and interesting, not necessarily fancy gourmet foods, but just the creativity of people around the world. And street foods, I love the street foods, Korean tacos and pancake tacos and things like that.
This sounds like time for dinner. This is wonderful. Now, who has sort of inspired you, or who have you sort of modeled the startup after?
I definitely have to say a lot of it was inspired by Foursquare and Dennis from Foursquare, because those guys are, they they were started out really small. I mean, they were a small company when I was kind of percolating this idea, and I've kind of watched them grow up just like a step ahead of us, a year ahead of us really, and just I just had spent some time with Dennis and some other location-based app founders, people like that. But Dennis is just such a honest guy about the struggles and the things that all the like late nights of stressing out and that have taken it to get this far. And I just really admired that honesty and just like realizing that it's not always like fun and games, but it's doing something that you love, and it's kind of pushing through all that. And I think it was really interesting to hear, because you look at Foursquare now and you're just like, oh my gosh, they're so successful, why are they successful all the time? But realizing it wasn't always, there's been so many lows and highs throughout that journey, and you always want to get to the next big thing, and that was just a great conversation.
And as your team grows, what do you sort of look for in new team members? What kind of questions do you ask when you hire?
I think we've realized more and more that one of the most important things is team culture fit. Both Ted and I came from really kind of tight-knit companies, Adaptive Pathing and Satisfaction, and we talked to like a ton of people for some of the roles, but culture fit was really the most important thing. Someone we could sit side by side with and stay up late with and just talk through things. And I think we want everybody to be kind of an entrepreneur themselves. So we want people that have that entrepreneurial attitude, and even though that means they might leave someday or whatever, I think it's better that they have that drive themselves than not.
And what would your advice be for people kind of thinking about going out and starting their own endeavor? What sort of things do you wish someone had told you a year ago?
Yeah, I think surround yourself with people who are doing it. I think that was the thing that it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't have met so many people. Just like it was just really like one catalyst after another. Like I met Sana and I learned about this, that people start startups. I started talking to Adaptive Path founders who had left and started their own companies. And it was just really one conversation after another. I talked to people at Adaptive Path about the idea, and it just kept evolving because I was having these conversations. And I think the more you can surround yourself with entrepreneurial people who are peers, people who are at all different stages, that's moved it along more than anything.
And what will you consider success? What is the real goal for you and Ted?
I mean, I think we would just love to see Foodspotting become this thing that people identify with and love and do around the world. Like we like the word Foodspotting because it kind of speaks to a hobby that people have or an activity that people do, and we'd be happy if people just say the word Foodspotting all the time, and they're just like, it's just the verb for taking pictures of your food and sharing them with your friends. So I mean, I think that we'd love to just see it become this phenomenon, and eventually possibly extend to other things besides just food, and just be this way of sharing experiences that other people can go enjoy as well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Alexa. The site is foodspotting.com. Thanks.
Thank you.